At turn two, he's tried all different areas of the circuit. He tried the conventional ones in the early stage of the race, and eventually he realised, do you know what, I'm going to have to do something different here because it just wasn't working on breaking in towards turn one. He wasn't close enough.
Yeah, and for Toprak, we know that he's a rider that can go to plan B, especially whenever he knows he's got a bike that's as good as the bike he's up against and has the same speed. So for Toprak, it was a little bit different whenever he used to fight up against Alvaro Bautista on the Yamaha, for instance, and he knew there was only one place he'd be able to try and attack. Here, it was a situation where he knew that he'd have to try something a little bit different, but he had the confidence to try something different.
Closest action in this race is still for 11th place. Michael van der Mark holding off Dominic Egerter and holding up Dominic Egerter, frankly, at this stage, because Garrett Gerloff has bolted 1.5 seconds up the road in P10. So this is looking good for Gerloff, who's also starting to close down Jari Montella with 4.5 laps to go, with the chance to make further progress. Egerter almost alongside Michael van der Mark now as they come through the right-hander. And through he goes, the number 77 at turn 15 under the bridge and up into 11th place. Now we'll see what pace advantage he's got over Gerloff. 1.6 seconds the gap for Dominic Egerter to the top 10 spots. And the Yamahas have had a little bit more of a fight about them in race 2 than they have at any other time this weekend. Yeah,
we've been able to see from Domi a good opportunity in this race to remind everyone what he's able to do. A lot of rumours about what's going to happen at GRT Yamaha for next season, and Domi's the rider that potentially looks like he's on the chopping block for that. And Stefano Manzi, the Supersport World Championship leader, he's going to test for Yamaha between now and Misano, and there's certainly an opportunity where he could be on that GRT bike next year.
Van der Mark trying to come back in towards turn 1. Meanwhile, Scott Redding behind is up into 13th place, so he's got through on Jonathan Ray. Still a couple of points available for Ray where he sits in P14, but the stuffing was rather knocked out of his challenge by that penalty for the collision with Alvaro Bautista on the opening lap. 4 riders in one little train here, with Egerter 25.5 seconds down on the race leader. Van der Mark 3/10 back, Redding 2, then Ray another 3, so all within a second of one another at present. As Nicolo Bulega on this lap, setting a couple of really strong sectors, and he was faster than Toprak last time around. He's got the gap back down from 0.8 of a second to half a second, and it's been a 1/10 per sector, and you can just see that Bulega's looming large again on the tail of Razgatlıoğlu, just keeping him honest late on.
Does need to be said, obviously, at Assen we had the tyre wear issues for Toprak, the tyre consumption problems that cost him grip in that race and cost him a lot of speed, and we know that he's only got 3 laps to go when he comes across the line, but Bulega, he's right there, 1/4 of a second now, and last time around Bulega pulled back 4/10.
Toprak looks to be in some trouble here. The gap on the previous lap, 0.8 of a second, drops all the way down to 0.2 of a second. This is Toprak's strongest area of the circuit, so it's not going to be through here, but by the end of the lap, Bulega may well be close enough to try and attack.
This part of the track takes a lot out of the tyre because you've got so much load going through it with the bike sliding underneath you. It's a high-speed track here at Most, even though you've got quite a few slow corners, and for Toprak, maybe it might be just that tyre just starting to give him a little bit of problems.
Yeah, he may well have had to use a lot just to try and attack Nicolo Bulega in the early stages of the race. New fastest first sector of anyone from Toprak Razgatlıoğlu. Way to go and answer back. Nicolo Bulega responds and closes down the gap again in sector 2, as you can see along the bottom of your screen, that lower third, through sector 3 now. And it is from one sector to the next, but this is exciting stuff between the two of them. Best race of the weekend between Bulega and Razgatlıoğlu.
Yeah, and you can see both of the riders know that this is a chance to really stamp your authority on the championship battle as well. For Bulega, he's your championship leader. As it stands, it'll be a 21-point deficit for Toprak to make up. Bulega wants to make sure he makes a statement here as well to Razgatlıoğlu.
Razgatlıoğlu not being let out of the sight here of Nicolo Bulega, who answered back on lap 18.
Down into turn 1. We'll see if Toprak goes defensive and runs his bike up to the right-hand side of the track. The reason he's doing that is he's trying to force Bulega to have to go the long way around down in towards turn 1. Toprak right on the limit into turn 1. You can see there, as usual for Razgatlıoğlu, the rear end steps up and he's still able to somehow get that bike stopped.
Less than a 1/10 of a second between Razgatlıoğlu and Bulega over the line to start this penultimate lap. It's going to be a defensive ride from here. It's nervous faces now down at BMW because they know they're going to need the absolute best from their hero Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, their first and only world champion. Superb again in the opening sector. Fastest first sector of anyone on the penultimate lap from Razgatlıoğlu to respond.
Yeah, 21.6 in that first sector. That really is impressive from Toprak. right at the end of this race. He's opened that gap out to a half a second again.
And we'll see what Nicolo Bulega can do now in the second half of this lap. Couple of tenths of a second lost further in sector 2. Is that game over for the hopes now of Nicolo Bulega? 4 tenths of a second lost on this lap, but there was only a tenth between them coming over the line to start lap number 21. It's up to Bulega to be perfect from here on in. It's been a brilliant display from him, whatever the eventual results, but it's Razgatlıoğlu taking control now on this penultimate lap.
Yeah, Toprak with the 4 tenths of a second. We know that Bulega's best overtaking opportunity will be down in towards turn 1. So the next 2 corners critical for Bulega to try and hook something up, but just that little bit too far back from Toprak.
Yeah, 3 tenths as they came into the final 2 turns between Razgatlıoğlu and Bulega. Bulega working the bike as hard as he can. A bit of lift off the final bend. 1/4 of a second between them with this 1 lap to go. And Toprak has safely negotiated the key area of the circuit for him, and he is still in front with 1 to go.
Yeah, Bulega 3 tenths of a second faster in that final sector. He'll view it that maybe there's a chance to throw a bike down the inside into turn 20 on the last lap.
He's got to stay close through here. That's the first mission. Sectors 1 and 2. 21.7 in the first sector for Toprak Razgatlıoğlu. So Bulega losing 3 tenths. The gap's now half a second. It is the largest it's been since that late race spurt from Nicolo Bulega. He's going to need something very special now in the closing stages. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu making his way now through turn 12. Then the right-hander at 13, inching closer towards a crucial victory in the context of the championship. There's a 10-point swing on this one, remember. If Bulega can get through on Razgatlıoğlu, it'll be 5 points pulled back on Toprak, or 5 points gained over Toprak. And if things stay as they are at present, it will be Toprak pulling 5 points back on Nicolo Bulega in the context of the championship. It's going to be close right down to the wire.
Goes right down to turn 20, so for Bulega, is he close enough to try and attack on Toprak? Just a little bit of a bobble there for Bulega.
Bulega as close as he's been since Toprak made the pass to come through. They are nose to tail through the final 2 turns. Nicolo Bulega, a hat-trick winner in Australia, first time out, in Italy 2 weeks ago. Toprak Razgatlıoğlu does the hat-trick in Portimao, but he's denied on the line in Most. And Nicolo Bulega with what's got to be the best win of his career by less than a tenth of a second over Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, and that could be decisive in the context of the World Championship. A 10-point swing in the final 10 metres.